Welcome to the virtual Sonoma International Raceway. In the real world, this track was built in 1968 and has changed over the years to what we see today. With tonight's event, we take a look at what once was as we watch the 1987 NASCAR stock cars take on Sonoma's historic Cup Series layout used up until 1997. It's for Drink Friday Live right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Gary Weaver with Joe Peak in the director's booth, who is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. As the drivers try to make their way around this complicated layout with these powerful cars, we'll introduce you to it ourselves with our GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Sonoma Raceway, one of California's most famous road courses. It resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you?
And that is a look around this historic layout of Sonoma Raceway. This track actually had a little bit of variation between 1998 and 2000. And of course, as a bit of correction for myself, it was used up until about 2011. But nonetheless, well, tonight's event with this track, it is the 2-mile Cup Series layout that these drivers used to run at before they went back to essentially the original layout they went to. So this is going to be a very, very interesting track with elevation change and curbs almost relatively everywhere, as well with a 72-degree air temperature and 75-degree track temperature. Something to keep in mind, but relatively a cool day here this afternoon. For tonight's event for Drink Friday, the race details that we have for you, of course, well, it is in the 87 NASCAR Cup Series stock cars, both the Chevy Monte Carlo and the Ford Thunderbird. It is a 45-minute race, or 40 laps, whichever occurs first. The drivers must drink 4 12-ounce beverages, and of course, everybody is all on the exact same setup in relatively the exact same car. It all comes down to see how much they can try and wheel it. And you can see here with this 277 of BJ Fulton, almost able to get it up until that uphill section at this portion of the track. A very tricky portion here in these powerful cars. And well, these cars are a handful enough in their own right, I should say, as we are about 5 minutes away from completing qualifying. These cars are a bit of a handful on the ovals alone, and to make it just that little bit more challenging, they threw him on a road course. Aaron Edwards almost just barely making contact with the outside wall. He nearly missed it, and unfortunately, he will slide all the way dramatically into the tire barriers as, again, these drivers trying to make their rounds. BJ Fulton, second place currently on the timing sheets, making his way around the second half of this course. And what a great job by Dougie Beard with that camera angle. You can see the variation. It is absolutely incredible, the elevation change. And you see his fastest lap for Fulton, a 1:19.587. The fastest lap is a 1:18.938 set by Michael Johnson in that number 18 machine. And unfortunately for BJ Fulton, this lap not going to be his fastest, so he'll take another round, this time by the start-finish line. going to be taking a look here at the number 6 Jeffrey Shulam, who unfortunately throughout these first 15 or so minutes was not able to get a lap time in, unfortunately. All right, now we will go ahead and bring in Adam Lindgren, who joins me at least later on once he gets everything sorted out. But Jeffrey Shulam going to be making his way carefully around the circuit. He does have at least one more chance if he can get to the line, and well, unfortunately, that may not be the case as he slides right off the track, unfortunately, and up over the hill. He might try and take one more chance. His best shot right now is to just bring it on around the entire track. BJ Fulton makes his way around. And I feel like it's a little bit of bad luck for the 6 of Shulam, just unable to even get a lap time in, unfortunately. But again, one more shot as he locks up his right front tire in the hairpin entry. And Shulam needs to hope and needs to gap himself actually as much as possible between himself and Fulton, so that 6 can just get enough speed, hits the outside wall before the start finish line, and is able to start that time cleanly. And we're taking a look here at John Mo Meyer, and you see in his name that parentheses DD. Well, that means he is a designated driver, so he will be able to he won't be able to, of course, have any type of drinks, but to accommodate for that, he will be taking 4 pit stops to equal that as much as possible, which of course is incredibly fair, and well, unfortunately not so much fair for the number 2 machine, is that he is not able to complete a lap as of yet. About 2 minutes remain. He is going to be able to get to the start finish line in time, but the question is, can he complete that lap in time? Unfortunately, right into the tire barriers here in the hairpin, not able to carry as little speed as he needed. BJ Fulton still trying to better his lap time. He knows he's able to do it, but unfortunately that car is just struggling for him. He's not having a good time keeping that together. The brakes, I believe, when they passed by were actually a little bit lit up as well, which would be a first time that I've seen that. So that 277 hard on the brakes into the hairpin. Will he be able to better his lap time? No, unfortunately. It looks like that 119 will significantly be that fastest time that he was able to set. Looks like the 2 of Mo Meyer not able to complete his lap time. He'll opt to go for starting in the back, as Fulton will try one more time here around the historic Sonoma Raceway to get into at least the first place position. Now let's go to the current pole sitter, the provisional pole sitter, Michael Johnson, who has been trying his absolute hardest to better his lap time throughout this entire session. And the only fastest lap that he had was his first lap, which is that 119. However, his other laps have been 21 seconds or slower. So that's going to be something to keep in mind. 1 minute 21s could be the common time here throughout tonight's 45 or 40 lap event, rather, or 40 minutes by the looks of it, whichever occurs first. Johnson going to be trying one more attempt, but I don't think he'll have enough time to complete that lap. We'll see. Back to second place, BJ Fulton. Unfortunately, actually, he might actually have a little bit more time. We'll see on the brakes into the hairpin. Locking up the brakes into the hairpin. Both tires as well. 9 seconds remain. And it looks like from that lockup, he's going to be cutting it very close as he comes out of the final corner. Can he get it? No, he can't. That lockup, unfortunately, cost him some time. He does have time to finish, at least for BJ Fulton, but unfortunately, well, with that lockup, it slowed him down on corner entry. Michael Johnson, however, does have time to finish by the looks of it, and it looks like as well number 2 machine of John Momayer going out on track now, but I don't believe, considering the checker flag has fallen, will be able to finish that time. In fact, it might count by the looks of it. So we'll see what happens here in these this final 1 minute. And we'll now go ahead and bring in Adam Lindgren. Adam, well, what do you make of this? The 87 Cup cars, 4 drinks, and in some cases, well, for the number 2, 4 pit stops. And it's a very unique event here tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be a challenging one for these drivers. This car is hard to handle at the best of times, much less when you've got 4 drinks in your system. So seeing these guys put in any sort of representative times at all is, quite frankly, a great testament. Here's Jeffrey Shulam trying to come around the final chicane. You can see just how much of a struggle it is to get this car wound around. Is he going to hit that outside wall? Yes, he is. Unfortunately, that will likely invalidate his time here in qualifying. It's going to leave Michael Bolton to come around one more time. Michael Bolton in that number 7 machine trying to come around and complete a lap. Currently on a fairly clean lap and keeping good control of that car as well.
He is keeping it in wonderful control, but the question is, will he be able to make it back? 20 seconds remain, literally racing the clock, loose off the corner at the top of the hill, goes down the hill, carries that extra speed, and it's going to be incredibly close. 9 seconds, 8 seconds. I don't believe he will definitely not be able, unfortunately, to make a qualifying time. He will still be able to grid, but a great effort nonetheless by Michael Bolton in that number 7 machine to try and get some type of a representative time in. But as qualifying comes to a close, we'll go ahead and go to our starting grid for this evening's race. On the front row, it is Michael Johnson with that 118.938, with the number 277 of BJ Fulton sitting in that second place position with that 1 minute 19 second gap. Robert Stout starts off in the 3rd place position. Aaron Edwards starts off in 4th. And the drivers that didn't qualify, of course, were Michael Bolton, who tried at the very last moment. Jeffrey Shulam tried every single lap, couldn't get anything, unfortunately. And same goes for the number 2 machine of John Mo Mayer. And Adam, as these drivers get ready to make their way around the field for their pace lap, any final predictions?
I think the first braking zone up the hill is going to be complete chaos. It's going to be difficult for these drivers to judge their braking zone. It's hard to do at the best of times, especially here. It's a little bit early in the morning here at Sonoma, 7:50 a.m. virtual standard time for these drivers. Track conditions are pretty ideal, that being said. 75 degrees Fahrenheit out here on track, 72 degrees with the air temperature, partly cloudy, not much humidity to speak of, especially here in Sonoma. So these drivers should have idyllic driving conditions, that being said, with the exception of those 4 drinks in their belly.
And aside from that, really the only one that technically is on a good stay is John Mo Mayer, but at the same time, again, because he's a designated driver, he has to take those 4 pit stops. So it all comes down to really who can wheel this car around the best, whether you have something in your system or not. And well, Michael Johnson completely proved that he is able to do it with a 118.937 for that pole time. At the moment, we are waiting for that pace car to be released and drive that field around this historic layout here of Sonoma. There it goes, slowly pulling off. And like you mentioned, that braking zone in the uphill in any car is incredibly difficult. Sometimes the car wants to step out, and well, you see it right up ahead here, and from this beautiful camera angle, you have a long sweeping left-hand turn, essentially, all the way uphill to turn 1.
Yeah, and that's a challenge no matter where you are from. Looks like Aaron Edwards possibly had a little bit of trouble finding the big green button at the top of his screen to get onto the grid. He's still not shown up for the start of this race. He might be starting from the pits, unfortunately for him. But yeah, as they come up this hill, I mean, even the pace lap with that many drinks in your system can be a little bit hazardous depending on who you are. So fortunately, these drivers not taking that winding infield that can cause a lot of problems, but it's still difficult to line up and get ready for this race, especially considering the fact that the pace car is going to pull off before they reach that final hairpin. And that's where things are going to get interesting, is going through that final hairpin under pace speed and trying to get a good launch off of it.
Not only that, if you're, I guess in this case, in the back of the group, well, if the leader goes right when the pace car goes off, you're still stuck mid-hairpin, that's not exactly going to be helping you out either. And everyone's taking very, very cautious measures, of course, understandably enough, going single file. But regardless, this comes down to really who can wheel down these cars the best. And these cars are a handful in their own right, even when you don't have anything. So we'll see how much control these drivers really do have over the car. So the pace car will go down into pit road, 40 minutes or 40 laps, whichever occurs first. Down into the hairpin, the 18 leads on the left-hand side of this field. He doesn't go yet, still waiting out a solid 55 miles per hour, picks it up a little bit. Green flag flies, and we are racing here at the historic Sonoma Raceway. And just like that, Johnson with a great start. Bolton slowing up quite significantly here in these opening corners.
Oh, and look at that, the 277 trying to get around on the inside. It looks like John Momayer in the background almost spun around the number 6 car. In fact, he did spin around the number 6 car in the back of the field, so he's going to have some recovery to do for sure. The 7 of Michael Bolton trying to get going in that car as well as he pulls out to the inside to try and possibly effect a pass down here. Can't quite do so. Michael Johnson just flying away from the field right now.
And Johnson pulling a great gap as everyone else is trying to stay there, do the best to stay off of the curves, but at the same time, this is Sonoma, so these curves can sort of help you rotate the car in some cases, but well, in this state, it's definitely best to stay off the curbs as much as possible as everyone tries to sort themselves out. Jeffrey Shulam still trying to get back going as well. Michael Johnson pulling away with a very commanding lead and trying to look to the right-hand side was Bolton spins out.
Right in front of Fulton, and Fulton actually hangs on to it and is able to get past Bolton. Oh my goodness, and that was close from Jeffrey Shulam as well. Oh my goodness. John Momayer, though, even though he's a designated driver, he seems to be struggling a little bit with the car at this point. Robert Stout now pulling about a 4-second gap on BJ Fulton, and Michael Johnson way out front with 2 seconds over Robert Stout.
Michael Johnson doing a great job. That last lap, the starting lap, was a 1 minute 25.754 seconds, and that is something that I'm going to be very much keeping in mind now that he's up to full speed, especially since, again, fastest lap at 1:18, so we'll see if he can replicate that, but the common pattern has been about 1 minute and 20 seconds, somewhere in that area just about. But look at this, the 4 car directly behind, Robert Stout closing that gap as best as possible, and in fact I believe he actually is closing that gap, so that 4 car has got everything pretty much all set up perfectly.
Yeah, Robert Stout seems to be quite a bit quicker when he's got the rear bumper of car Michael Johnson up ahead of him. A little bit more motivation to get through clean and quick around here. He's actually handling the car pretty stinking well right now, especially with how challenging these cars are to handle around Sonoma as it is. Michael Johnson still continues to pull ahead just a little bit. He's still got that about a 1.7 second gap over Robert Stout, but that being said, Stout proving to be quite stout in that number 4 machine.
He's doing an incredible job. And I believe actually now just closed a 1/10 of a second that time around at that start-finish line. And both drivers actually, well, the difference in a nutshell is about 3/10 of a second. And there you see it. Robert Stout with that fastest lap time, 1 minute 20 seconds. I should rather say 1 minute and 20.337 seconds. Great job by Robert Stout. As for everyone else, BJ Fulton sitting quite a ways back in the 3rd place position, but he does have everything relatively under control now that the 1st and 2nd laps have been completed, although wheel hopping over on the curbs onto common track here at Sonoma. And it's definitely no stranger. I don't believe anybody here who races at Sonoma is a stranger to getting up onto those curbs.
Absolutely not. That's oftentimes the fastest way to go around, especially in cars with the suspension like these old 87 machines have. But, Gary, I'm a little concerned because based upon what we're seeing on the timing screen, John Momayer is supposed to be the designated driver, correct? He has 4 pit stops to pull off in this race, right?
That is indeed correct for that number 2 machine. He has to do 4 pit stops within this race. So Momayer has not yet gone to pit road, going off of his timing.
What concerns me about this, Gary, is that he's having a hard time getting through the final chicane. A lot more of a hard time than the drivers who have had 4 drinks up ahead of him. So I find this quite interesting to watch quite frankly.
That's actually a really good question. Now I'm actually curious, but even on ovals, these cars are a huge handle. These things, from at least my experience, you cannot drive them in a straight line like you can with the modern Cup cars. You have to wheel this thing consistently, and it is a wonderful handful. It's incredibly fun to drive, and well, it's something, that's for sure. It's a little bit of a blast from the past. Right now, well, we'll take a look at Momire a little bit later on. Jeffrey Shulam very carefully making his way around, I've noticed, because, well, ever since he got spun out in that first lap, he's been kind of slowly starting to get back up to speed. But, well, right when I say carefully, unfortunately, hard contact with the wall, and he'll try and get that thing back going once again. But having a lot of bad luck this race is that 6 of Shulam.
Yeah, we're taking a look at Aaron Edwards. Aaron starting from the pits today. He actually started quite a ways back. He's already a lap behind. So is Jeffrey Shulam, to be honest. So Michael Johnson out in front flying. He's going to have to take those 4 drinks at some point during this race. And he's trying to build that gap. But Robert Stout proving to hold steady down there in the 2nd position. He is losing time, but probably not as much as Michael Johnson wants, depending on how he's going to play this strategy with the drinks tonight.
I'll see how that strategy does play out as Stout goes up and over the curbs towards that very deadly tire wall that stares everybody in the face once you go over those curbs, and it gets right back on track. And believe it or not, sometimes going over the curbs is usually that preferred line. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, and here's Michael Bolton trying to catch up to the back of John Momire. John Momire is the driver tonight. Michael Bolton catching up to the back of him quite quickly, actually. Bolton trying to recover from that earlier spin we saw in that wonderful Dynaco fuels machine, trying to catch up to Momire. Here he goes, trying to make an attempted pass. He's going to look up the inside. He's got the speed on him. Can he outbrake him into the hard right-hander? Yes, he can.
Momire will just go ahead and, at least for the moment, decide to let him by. Momire struggling to actually get going in this final section here of the SS. A little bit slower of an exit, gets it right hooked back up, and then slows down just a little bit on corner exit. So, like you mentioned, Adam, he is struggling a little bit in this final section of the Sonoma Raceway. So we'll see if he is able to get used to this in the next few minutes, but he definitely has to get used to it very, very quickly before he gets his pit stops complete.
Whoa, and that's Aaron Edwards blowing his braking zone right in behind Momire. Aaron trying to catch up for that lost time, but he's going to have to make up a lap plus to try and be in contention for this race. But he's looking at John Momire and thinking that he can get by as well. Look at how quickly he's coming.
Edwards closing the gap as quickly as possible, trying to get around and give himself some type of advantage, even though he is a lap down. But Edwards knows that he is just wanting to get going, get past, and get set up. Unfortunately, that will not be the case, and he decides to back off in this opening section.
It looks like that's where Momire is the strongest. Aaron Edwards is struggling to get that grip down. These cars have a significant amount of horsepower, but the tires just really have a hard time putting it on the ground, especially when you're at these road courses. The suspension travel and the way that the car behaves at these road courses is entirely different than the ovals, and it makes it even more difficult to drive. But look at this. Here he comes closing in on the S's section where Momire struggles. Remember, Aaron Edwards is a lap down, trying to gain his laps back so that he can get back into contention for this race.
He's going to be all over that back bumper going into the hairpin. Now, this is where you start to wonder, well, is it possible for Edwards to outbrake him on corner entry? Yes. Does he choose to do so? By the looks of it, not really, but I think he's going to let Momire outbrake himself, go wide on corner exit, and just like that, Edwards does get by. Granted, it's not for position, but does give Edwards a little bit of clean air in front of his car. Right now, looking at the 277 of BJ Bolton, he's just been sitting here. He did start second, just trying to at least keep his car under control. The driver right in front of him is that second place driver of Robert Stout. So Bolton trying to close in as much as possible, but well, we'll see if that is possible, judging by lap times so far. At least the last time by the start-finish line, Bolton was about a second faster. And like you mentioned before, Adam, it's that seeing the back bumper of somebody in front of you gives you a lot of motivation.
Absolutely, it does. It's something that can seep through even to our deepest subconscious, the competitiveness that we get to here. And oh, it looks like Jeffrey Shulam possibly is around. Actually, he's parked, so he's taking one of his first drinks.
So Jeffrey Shulam deciding to take one of his drinks early. Of course, the rules is that the car cannot be moving when taking a drink, and it cannot be during a pit stop either. So that's the key thing. He gets it refired. He gets back going. And he's got a clear track behind and in front of him. Very, very wide open space. And oh, there he is in the background, the leader of Michael Johnson, who has not stopped quite yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen Johnson stop. I do believe that I believe Michael Bolton possibly took one of his first drinks after his early spin coming into the hairpin. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. But yeah, the Dynaco machine of Michael Bolton still trying to gain. I mean, he's lost about 30 seconds up to the leaders up in front. So my guess is that he did take that first drink during that spin. So not a bad time.
He actually has taken, apparently by the looks of it, 2 already. So 2 within about the first maybe 10 minutes, just about. So he's trying to play a little bit of, almost a little bit of a strategy game in a sense, as we take a look at BJ Fulton, who's starting to make his way across the start-finish line, down the main straightaway, and up that long, sweeping left-hand turn, uphill into that hard braking zone. And I haven't driven this car at this track yet, although I have driven this car, but I can only imagine just how unsettled the car wants to get when braking uphill, as that tire lockup smoke was from on board. We're looking at Robert Stout. So Fulton maybe wants to try and get these positions early as he gets a little bit loose, hangs onto it.
And here's the thing that I'm thinking of if I'm Stout. I'm thinking to myself, if Fulton gets by, at that point, it might be the best time to take a park and take a drink. Because you got 30 seconds back to Michael Bolton behind you guys. So there's some time to get that drink down before you're going to get caught by the next person. And that way you can have Fulton just running out in front of you and having to take his next drink.
We'll see if that is the case. Riding on board, you see just how loose, and just how much, I should say, that Robert Stout is pushing that car as they both get by Jeffrey Shulam here throughout this short straightaway down, this short blast into the hairpin. Fulton decides to back off. Very interesting decision, wise decision as well. And Shulam decides, well, you know what, both of you go on ahead. I have all the space. I'll give that space to you, and unfortunately hit the outside wall on the left-hand side. But like you mentioned, Adam, stopping once you get past is definitely going to do very, pretty much wonders in a sense.
Yeah, let's see whether he thinks about that. Either that or he might be one of the guys who decides to wait until very late in the race to take the drinks. But Fulton definitely quicker than Stout at this stage in the race. Their fastest laps, Stout is quite a bit quicker actually than Fulton, but Fulton just better on the race pace right now. Stout just struggling to get the power down, especially over these hills and crests that we get here at the first section of Sonoma. Honestly, that part of the course is one of my favorite sections of racetrack in the world. It's just so difficult to get a car to drive well through there, and when you get it right, it feels amazing. But when you get it wrong, you end up in the grass oftentimes. These guys definitely wrestling these 87 machines.
And it looks like, well, Robert Stout has wrestled the car so much that he's actually started to create a little bit of separation, in a sense, between himself and Fulton. Of course,
he's offline here, Gary.
I should say, yeah, he just barely got offline. Got it hooked right back up, though, through that corner. A great job, at least at the moment. I was going to say essentially stopping the bleeding, but throughout this corner entry, locking up the brakes, both of them as Fulton looks to the left-hand side. Contact. Again, they still hang on to it.
Oh, great stuff between these two guys, outbraking each other into the hairpin, making a little bit of contact. Fulton's going to let him go. Stout having to whoa up a little bit, coming off of the hairpin because of the contact from Fulton. But these guys are going at it. Look at that. Fulton possibly trying to cross him up. Can't quite get it done this time. These guys are having a great battle here.
Right up against the back bumper. I was going to say on corner exit that if the Force Stout was going to get spun, you might as well just put the clutch in, take that first drink, and then get back going as soon as possible. But he wants to defend this position as hard as possible, maybe try and outrace. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. Again, getting very close to that tire wall, and that's the closest I've seen as Fulton looks to the right-hand side.
Yeah, but it's going to switch over to be the outside of the next couple of chicanes. Look at that. Stout able to hold on to the position. Fulton can't get his way through. He's going to try and stick his nose in, but now that puts Fulton offline. And these 87 machines getting offline means you're so much slower. You lose a good tooth, even 3 seconds sometimes, depending on how offline you are through this sector. Look at this. Stout back online, back in his comfort zone, but he goes a little bit wide on that final corner. This might give an opportunity to Fulton if he wants to dive it in there.
He does dive it in, sends it into the right-hand side of the corner, and Stout does give him the appropriate space, contact, I should say now, and that's going to actually slow up the momentum of Fulton. Does Fulton have Stout clear? He doesn't. This is absolutely incredible racing as Stout tries to stay off the quarter panel, and he's forced to back out here on that first section of that left-hand turn.
The Challenger able to get through. Coors Light machine having to fall back a position. Let's see whether Stout decides to take a drink here. It looks like, I do believe that we still have only had the 3 drinks that we've talked about so far in this race. I'll have to take a look one more time. Yeah, I believe those are the only 3 drinks that we've said. The 2 from Michael Bolton and the 1 from Aaron Edwards. Unless he took one in the pits, which I don't believe you're allowed to do, so things are going to be very difficult for him.
And things will definitely be difficult. Aaron Edwards, of course, did have to start in pit road, so a little bit of difficulty for him throughout this event. Oh, no!
He's stuck!
That's going to be a tow.
Which means he can't drink.
Now, I wonder, technically, I think in this case, well, never mind. I was going to say he may have been able to take one, but well, now that he's taken a tow, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. That sets him back a very significant amount. Michael Johnson taking a look right here at the leader, and the car directly behind him is John Momayer. Trying to sort things out, trying to sort his own things as well, but such heartbreak for Robert Stout after such an incredible battle that was.
Absolutely, and you know, with all his wits about him, he might have taken that drink right there, but unfortunately taking that tow means he's going to be in there for quite a while before he could get out on track and take a drink. It's one of those things, one of the uniquenesses of this 4-Drink Friday series, that the strategies have to be so different from any other racing series. Oh, and look at this. John Momayer, I believe, is cutting the course. Yes, he is. Alrighty, so he's decided to take a cut course penalty there, and
that might be actually, now that I think about it, sorry to cut you off, but I think that actually might be the way that he's going to guarantee himself to go to pit road so we can, so he can get a slowdown penalty to try and equate himself with everyone else taking drinks, because it may take a little bit of time for some other drivers. So I think Momayer's making sure that he doesn't get any kind of advantage whatsoever. We'll see.
Oh, and now just very deep. He's stuck himself into the barriers there. Well, that's definitely going to be one way to get to pit road.
Definitely not through the barriers, but definitely by using them and taking a tow and having the virtual marshal crew come through, as BJ Fulton now in second place.
And Jeffrey Shulam has taken one of his drinks. He just has gotten back on track in that number 6 machine, so he's already on the train.
I believe that would now make 2 for Shulam at this point. That would be, off the top of my head, correct for Shulam to have 2. So maybe about once every just about 10 minutes. Of course, not to the exact 10 minutes itself.
And Stout's rolling again, Gary. So Robert Stout able to get that tow done and is now going to park at the exit of pit road and take a drink.
Very wise decision to just do it now rather than wait for a little bit later on. As Bolton and Edwards do make a little bit of contact at the exit of the hairpin. They both do continue to roll forward, however. Now it's a very close battle, essentially, between the two, even though it's not even for position.
I mean, it's crazy to think that John Momayer is almost a full... Actually, Bolton is almost a full lap ahead of Robert Stout at this point in the race just because of Stout's unfortunate events there. Wow, look at that. Bolton and Edwards. Oh, and look at this. Fulton has taken a stop.
So Fulton deciding to extend his gap between himself and Michael Johnson for the lead. A very interesting decision as Momayer now goes to pit road.
All right,
so Adam, Yeah, this looks to be more a little bit of a strategy. So it looks to be sometimes two. There's just varying strategy in this case. It's so different from pit stops.
Well, Mayer actually made contact. He went wide in the final corner before the hairpin and ended up spinning around. So that's why he's taking yet another trip through pit lane this time around. But this would be his second visit to pit lane, I believe, this race.
I believe so. I'm going to go ahead and take another look at that. By the looks of it, yes, that would be, I believe, his second visit to pit road for this event. As both laps he had, his previous lap and this lap just now, 40 seconds in his time. So I believe he may have definitely gone to pit road, but regardless, still leading, an incredible feat. Michael Johnson just knowing he can extend his lead, and I think what he's trying to do, which is a pretty good strategy in this case, is just get everyone a lap down and then just get it all out of the way at once.
Yeah, just pound it all down. I think that's what he's doing for sure. Taking a look at his lap times, he has not yet taken a drink. So Michael Johnson trying to extend that gap as far as he can. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this. The average drink time that I've noticed from these drivers is about 30 seconds on this particular track and kart combo. So to down 4 at once, even 3 at once, is going to be well over a minute unless he's quite quick with it. So it's going to be interesting. He's going to have to develop that. He's already got a minute over Michael Bolton, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough.
And the thing is, it's not just, short amounts of drinks. It is 4 12-ounce drinks. So you would...
Shulam...
Oh.
Shulam is having a hard time after he's taken his drink.
In fact, Momair is well spun around in the hairpin. Shulam, pretty much everybody having some type... Pretty much everyone except Michael Johnson at this point, I think we can rule out. Bolton to pit road, interestingly enough.
And Stout looks like he's out of the race.
Or Fulton, rather. And what happened to the 4 of Robert Stout? Was he not able to make it?
He just had a spin coming through
And
the 90 right after the first sector. Yeah, and then he decided to jump out. Here's Bolton into the pits. This is interesting.
Yeah, Fulton rather into the pits, as I misspoke. For somehow I read BJ instead of well, my brain somehow combined the numbers, and Bolton. Well, okay. My brain is now thoroughly confused there. Apologies for that mix-up. I just now noticed that Fulton and Bolton. That's going to definitely play a little bit of confusion into this, but regardless, well, as we go ahead and it's just a lot.
Absolutely, and looks like we have Cameron Dance ready to hop in with us as well. Cam, you came at a good time. Looks like the drinks are starting to flow.
It certainly looks like it's about to get quite interesting, this race, by the looks of it, the fact that everybody's starting to get some beers in them or whatever alcoholic drink they decide to down. But certainly, yeah, it's been a fantastic race by the sounds of it, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what's going to happen once they get the drinks into them.
And right now looks to be, thanks to Adam Lindgren, I believe you've done a little bit of math and counting just to make sure everything is correct.
Yeah, just give me a couple minutes to make sure that I've got that exactly right, and I'll get right back to you with how many drinks everyone's had at this point.
Sounds good. In the meantime, being told by Director Joe Peak, of course, in the past few 4-drink races, we've, of course, drivers have been waiting till the last turn. I would be quite interested and quite intrigued to know if Michael Johnson would wait until literally the last few feet to cross the start-finish line. I wonder if that could be possible.
Yeah, it'll certainly be quite fascinating to see what sort of strategy you might pull off. It's going to be a very, very hard task, I reckon, to try and pull that one off, but it certainly might just work in the end, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes there and whether he's going to be able to make that work or not.
All right, now we're going to be taking a look at the number 2 machine of Mo Mayer, designated driver, of course, taking 4 pit stops instead of taking 4 drinks to accommodate. And well, luckily for that number 2, he's got that thing almost working. And it looks like he may be deciding to go to pit road this time around, since he is taking the alternative line, getting himself a few cut course time penalties, so that he knows that he can equate it again to, well, like what Adam said about the 30 seconds of penalties. But looks like he's going to be staying out once again into the tire barriers. This time doesn't get stuck, though. Looks to be just ahead of him, actually, in pit road. BJ Fulton in that pit road. And where is he in relation to Michael Johnson? Well, Johnson, we may see actually in one of the background shots, actually coming around the start-finish line to pass Fulton. There's Johnson across the start-finish line. Fulton just now gets into his pit box.
It's going to be very, very close, I reckon, between these two, and whether he's going to be able to just enough make it work is going to be a very big head scratcher. But he's just finishing up the tyres now, so he won't be too far away from getting back onto the racetrack. Johnson just coming through the back end of the circuit, so it's going to be reasonably close, I reckon, between these two.
Johnson taking the strategy of just running everything out, possibly until the last quite literal corner. We'll see how this occurs. A very interesting strategy by Johnson. This isn't like normal fuel strategy, which is throwing me off admittedly just a little bit, but it's quite fun to see essentially a different type of strategy in this case. It looks like Aaron Edwards is now in pit road.
Yeah, certainly. It's a very, very unique pit strategy to decide when you want to take your drinks and when you don't want to, and just try and build a gap more or less. So it's very, very interesting as Fulton is still stopped in pit lane. We'll see what Edwards does here on the way down to the lane, stops in his box. So it's going to be, yeah, really, really interesting strategy. I think Fulton's trying to down more than one, but he's just gotten away now. So certainly probably more than one drink, I'd say, has been consumed in that space of time.
So BJ Fulton has had two going into exiting before he exited his pit box. Michael Bolton had his third and fourth. So this is going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. For the sixth, unfortunately, he was actually off track. More bad luck for Jeffrey Shulam, trying to get it back going as quickly as possible.
Had a little bit of an off from what I saw as well, just getting probably a little bit too eager on the way into the corner. Unfortunately, just ending up onto the dirt and then spinning it out, or having a half spin at least on the exit and touching the grass. So he's gotten it back and going, looking reasonably straight, but it's a little bit of time loss, unfortunately, for that.
Yeah, an unfortunate loss of time. That corner exit every single time, even when I go off the corner, that scares me so much. As we look at the gap between BJ Fulton and John Momayer, looks like Adam Lindgren, looks like you got the numbers counted.
Yeah, based upon my best calculations, we're going to go down the order from Michael Johnson, who has taken none so far as his drinks are concerned. Based upon my calculations, Bolton has had all four. Edwards has had 3 of his 4. Shulam has had all 4. Let's see. That's Fulton has had all 4 as well. Momayer has been into the pits, I believe, only 2 times so far. And then Stout, who is out, only had 1, I believe, before he went out of this race.
BJ Fulton doing a very quick spin. Looks like he's actually going to be, maybe not. I was going to say maybe taking advantage of that stop, but he's just trying to get that car refired and back going again. So it looks like that 277 will get everything hooked back up and get back going. And, well, judging by, what we were told by Joe Peak earlier from these past few races that we've had, some drivers have decided to wait again until the last corner. So this might be the case for Michael Johnson, just waiting until the last second and then downing 4 12-ounce drinks. Again, it's not just small amounts, it is 12 ounce. So you have to just pretty much go ham onto those drinks.
Yeah, and there's certainly probably a little bit of a black art to doing that as well, to get through all those drinks within a very, very short space of time, especially a lap. So it's going to be a very, very interesting strategy, and interesting to see whether he actually manages to make it happen or not, whether he's going to end up losing the race as a result. But yeah, it's certainly looking forward to seeing what's going to happen here, and it's going to be very, very close, I reckon, regardless.
Johnson backing out, and then of course, well, it looks to be Momayer giving him the space and the pass on the inside of the hairpin. Good sportsmanship. As Johnson looked to make the pass, decided to back out. Momayer let him by. Well, meanwhile, behind those two, just behind the leader, I should say, for position, it's Momayer and Fulton. Momayer is trying to prove successful at the time, but unfortunately, that looks to not be the case on this opening section, Adam.
No, not at all. Fulton and Momayer just struggling this whole entire race to try and get going. And with only 2 pit stops down and 10 minutes left, he's going to have a lot of work to do to get those other pit stops in, based upon my calculations. But this battle for position is getting pretty tight, and with Johnson up ahead of them, BJ Fulton's going to want to try and get past Momayer as quickly as possible. Look at Momayer. Look how deep he goes in that corner. It's really struggling with the braking points in this 87 machine.
Yeah, these A7 cars are an absolute handful. It is so much fun and yet so equally terrifying, at least from my experience. But just what a battle this is starting to be right now. And well, it looks like, Cameron, that going down to the hairpin, maybe Fulton could outbrake the mayor, but by looks like not so much just yet.
Not quite close enough this time by to get a move done on Momea, but he's certainly close enough at this stage to possibly have a think about having a look, but he's not quite going to have the pace at this stage to try and find a way on by. Seems to be holding pace with him quite well, though, so I'd say move is certainly going to be on at some point, but he just needs to get the ever so slight edge over him at the stage and just send one up the inside.
Just trying to hang on to it, and that might be the opportunity, as going wide as Momayer, he'll slide off the track in the background and into the right side tire barrier, unfortunately. And well, to add insult to injury, Momayer is unfortunately sent out by the grass that decides to say, well, how about no, as Shulam will let the leader by of Michael Johnson, who gets by on the left-hand side. Now, BJ Fulton, interestingly enough, may be closing into Michael Johnson, maybe trying to unlap himself.
Yeah, he could very well be trying to do that as best as he can at this stage, and it's looking like he might be able to do it. We'll see what happens in terms of whether he's going to have enough pace in these dying a few minutes of this race to be able to get close enough. He's certainly pushing hard with the fact that he's getting that rear end out, and it's starting to get it to wiggle a little bit, and even a little bit deeper on the brakes as well. So he's certainly pushing hard to try and find a way on by Johnson, and whether he's going to be able to do that is really going to be a matter of time and rather than if. So going to be really close, and bearing in mind as well that Johnson still has to stop, so if Fulton can get his lap back, he might actually still stand a chance at possibly winning this race.
Possibly is the question as well. And well, I'm going to hand this over to you for this. Johnson on the oldest tires, and well, it's 4 drinks in Fulton versus none for Johnson, like you mentioned. And look at that, Fulton is sticking with Johnson while he's 2 laps down.
Yeah, this is pretty impressive stuff from Fulton to have 4 drinks in his system, to have 48 ounces of alcohol in his system, and to be holding with Michael Johnson, who has yet to take a drink that we can calculate this race. So quite a feat here from Fulton to be putting a challenge to Johnson, even with Johnson on the older tires. I mean, I have a hard time keeping these 87 cars straight, and I race sober.
It's a very valid point. Even I do as well. On an oval, on say Daytona or the Talladega back straightaway, these things just love to just dip and dive and weave around a lot. So it's only natural to put them on the road course, and what better than to do what better road course to do than Sonoma? Of course, the historic Cup layout, but regardless, it's still the Cup layout, and Fulton just lurking here in the rearview mirrors of Johnson. And well, Cameron, with 7 minutes left, I mean, what do you think Johnson's going to do? Try and fight Fulton, or just let him on by?
Yeah, it's certainly hard to tell, and Fulton's certainly got the pace at the moment. He was 2 tenths quicker that last time by, and then even quicker than the previous lap. So it's really going to be a question of what does he do? Does he let him on by, or does he just try and hold him up as best as he can? Probably wants to try and hold him up so he doesn't have to worry about consuming the beers as quick, but certainly is going to be a very tough challenge to try and hold Fulton behind him, with the fact that he's got such old tires and is lacking so much pace as well. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens at the end.
And that end is very rapidly approaching, 1 minute 20 seconds per lap, and it's either 40 minutes or 40 laps. Fulton loses out through this final section here of the racetrack. He was able to just stick with Johnson, may send it into this small right-hand turn. So far keeps the gap incredibly steady. And at this point, Adam, I think at this point we can only expect Johnson to just pull off right here on the final lap and just have everything at once.
Definitely, I believe that's probably what he's going to do here, unless he needs to pit for any reason. I would expect Johnson to absolutely pull off right before the line and try and get those 4 drinks and jump.
I mean, yeah, it goes back to what I said. I wonder if it could be possible again to go a few feet before the line or just right before the line.
Oh.
Then we'll see as Fulton moves to the left-hand side, and unfortunately he almost goes wide and still keeps it under control, slides again, still hangs onto it. Cameron, this is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he's certainly trying his best to find a way on by his Fulton, but he's just pushing ever so slightly too hard at this stage. Probably going to start burning up his tyres if he's not careful, but Johnson was surprisingly 3/10 quicker that last time by compared to Fulton as well, so he's still managing those old tyres quite well, while Fulton's possibly starting to reach the point of where they're just starting to drop off a little bit, so it's starting to equalise out a little bit, but yeah, it's whether he stops at this just before the start finish line or whether he stops at the final corner or where he stops in general is just going to really be a big head scratcher for Johnson, because he doesn't want to let Fulton on by and have him get that lap back, but he needs to stop at some point.
I'm pretty sure Fulton wants to get by, but like we saw, he doesn't really want to make contact, and let's just say that Johnson gets turned by Fulton, and Fulton, I think, is going to actually, no, he'll decide to keep going. Does Johnson stay stopped? He does, so I think Johnson is taking this as this opportunity, Adam.
Yeah, this will be interesting here because Bolton was about 2 minutes, 23 seconds behind Johnson. Bolton being in second place, not Fulton. We're talking about Michael Bolton at this point. So Michael Bolton just now coming into the final sector, the sweeping right and left-handers as they come into the final sector, as Michael Johnson pounding, I believe, multiple drinks at this point, still sitting stationary right there on the inside of the hairpin. This is when things are going to get interesting because Bolton's been driving with 4 drinks down the hatch for quite a bit. Johnson's going to be having to adapt all of his senses to how those drinks will be affecting his system and try and get going once again. And it looks like BJ Fulton's around.
BJ Fulton spun around. He's able to get it very quickly back going once again as Michael Bolton, second place, unlaps himself. Now the fun part in this case, if you could really call it that, is where, well, never mind, Johnson actually down and away, so may have had all 4 drinks. Not entirely sure, but for how long he was stopped, that's what we can assume, with 3 minutes left. And keep in mind, second place Michael Bolton on the lead lap.
That's really, he's actually used that opportunity very, very well, has Johnson, to down those drinks, and it's certainly looking like it's probably not quite going to be enough for anyone to try and get their lap back on him, but certainly it's been a quite good strategy by Johnson to end up doing what he's managed to do, and so you can certainly see the number 86 there is certainly making it as best as he can, but just trying to find a way on by. Nearly doesn't quite make it work.
Trying any which way possible to get by John Momayer, and unfortunately losing out on the battle, at least for now. We'll see if Bolton can catch up and outbreak into the hairpin, although judging by this corner exit and how loose he is and how much he's pushing the car, he won't be able to get past the number 2 car, at least this time. Although, judging by those different lines, he might be able to at least get alongside, slides it, saves it as well, and keeps going forward.
Yes, certainly does. Barely manage to hang on to it. A ton of horsepower really causing some issues for some of these. And there's only going to be about 2 laps to go this time by as well for Johnson. So all he needs to do really is just cruise on home and just make no mistakes.
So, Adam, going back to what you said again, about 30 seconds per 12 ounce. And, well, the lap that Johnson was stopped, as he's, again, 2 laps to go, he was stopped for about a minute. So this may help him out, depending on, of course, if he did take 2 or decided to take all 4 at once.
Oh, I mean, my guess is that he probably did all 4. He had nearly a 2-lap gap over Michael Bolton. And that'd be about 2 minutes and 40 seconds that he had over Michael Bolton when he got spun around. So even if he were to take his time taking all 4 of those drinks, he'd still probably come home with this. But Remember, I mean, nothing's out of the realm of possibility here. He's coming around for the white flag this time, but he's still got 4 drinks in his system, and we've seen just how much of a trouble that's been for multiple drivers. One driver who's not drinking tonight, but still having problems is Momayer, who Johnson's coming up on right now. And look at that. That's Michael Bolton going off in the hairpin.
And Momayer spins right out of the corner. No contact was made by him and between him and Michael Johnson. But Michael Johnson coming to the start-finish line. This time by, it will be the white flag coming to complete lap number 28, marking lap number 29. So final lap for Michael Johnson, the lap of truth, essentially, Cameron.
It is going to be the lap of truth as to whether he's taken 4, whether he's only taken about 2. Based on the math, that's a little bit debatable on whether he's taken 4, but who knows? We're about to find out on whether he has taken 4, whether he's only taken 2, or maybe even 3. But it's certainly going to be one of those things where we're just going to have to wait and see as to what happens.
And we'll see if it is possible. If he did take all 4, 15 seconds per every 12 ounce would be absolutely insane, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, no way I could drink 4 12 ounces that fast. That would be very, very quick. That'd be down the hatch in a different way.
I'm looking at the 7 of Michael Bolton making his way through the final section just in front of Michael Johnson. Of course, quite a ways between themselves. But again, if anything does happen, Bolton is on the lead lap. Johnson on his white flag lap, and he'll come around the final 2 corners here to maybe either stop or cross the line to win. We'll see here as the 18 of Johnson goes through the hairpin for the final time this race. Does he come to a stop? There's no way he's actually taken 15 seconds for 12 ounces. That may have been the case as Johnson comes across the start-finish line, wins at Sonoma, and an impressive feat. Win with 4 drinks. Oh my, we'll definitely have to ask him about that in our post-race interviews. Second place for sure, at least for now, is going to be looking to be that 7 of Michael Bolton, who managed to unlap himself. He still has about half the track to go, though, Cameron.
Yeah, he certainly does have about half the track to go. If he can keep it out of the wall, he'll be home free at this stage at least, and he's got a fairly substantial lead to 3rd place of BJ Fulton as well. He's been struggling a little bit over the last few laps, so he's going to have a very, very very easy second place, I should say, if he can just bring it on home here.
And right now, we see just how much Michael Bolton is pushing, but what an impressive job for Bolton and everyone in this field. But just oh my, managed to unlap himself almost by luck in some cases, but with 4 drinks, able to wheel this car around and finish in second.
Absolutely, and he knows that he's got that second plate completed, considering Bolton was a lap down from Johnson, so he's going to burn this thing down as he comes off the final corner and across the line and gets second place. Michael Bolton with a strong performance today.
And John, well, go ahead and in fact go to our post-race break. Coming up next will be our post-race interviews as well, and you'll see some upcoming races coming by on your screen. We'll be right back here at Sonoma Raceway with your post-race show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back to the virtual Sonoma Raceway here on the Global SimRacing Channel. It is the end of a very interesting 4-Drink Friday race. Taking a look at your finishing race results after this. It was Michael Johnson, possibly, and I'm sure downing 4 drinks in 15 seconds, 15 seconds each, with Michael Bolton finishing just behind, at least we won't count, a minute and 17 seconds behind. BJ Fulton finishing a lap down, and Cameron John Momayer finishing in 4th.
Yeah, and then you're going to have the likes of Edwards, Shulam, and Stout rounding out the 7-car field. But yeah, what an interesting race, and who would have thought that 15 seconds downing 4 drinks would be ever possible? I even can't believe that you've managed to do that.
Michael, how did you do that? Because we have many questions. That's absolutely incredible. What a race that was, though.
Oh, it was a blast. How did I do which part? Because I don't remember much of it at this point.
Well, apparently, since you can't just stop for a minute, we roughly assume that you drank all 4 drinks within the minute. So about one drink every 15 seconds. How do you manage to do that? That is 12 ounces as well. That is incredible.
Well, as many people who have been to a university know, drinking can be a competition. And I've had some practice. It's been a few years since I was in university, but yeah, I remember how to throw them back pretty good. I was also in the Army. I was a Ranger, and well, Rangers, we can do anything. So, that's the way you put it together.
I can't even chug a full 8. I can't even chug half of an 8-ounce soda can. But okay then. But throughout this race, you held on to it. You took that spin as an opportunity. Were you actually thinking about just coming to a stop at the start-finish line and just downing all of it?
That's exactly what my plan was. So my plan was two-faceted. If I crashed, I was going to go ahead and just knock them back then. If I didn't crash and made it all the way to the end, I was going to get to a good safe point at the end. You can't really stop on line, but I was going to stop basically in the same spot I already did where I had that spin. And at that point I was thinking, now that I've spun, let's make the best of it. But yeah, it was going to be one of those, I'll come up, I'll stop there. I'm going to watch the timer while I try to chug these things and hopefully not spill too much on my shirt, which I'm proud to say absolutely none of my Mexican penicillin made with Octavio tequila was spilled on my shirt.
An absolutely incredible job, Michael Johnson. Congratulations on a impressive drive and impressive win here at Sonoma.
Well, thank you, guys. I had a great time.
Well, that is race winner Michael Johnson. We'll go ahead and catch up with Michael Bolton, who's standing by with Cameron Dance.
Yeah, certainly, Michael. It was quite a fascinating race, and you didn't actually do too bad for yourself. So, are you happy with the result in the end?
Yeah, no, thanks, Cameron. Man, what a wild ride! I thought I was gonna hold on to it for more than a lap.
Yeah, certainly, it was quite an interesting race, and obviously the strategy around drinking the drinks when you wanted to and when you needed to, more or less. Was your strategy to try and go as long as you could, or was it just get it out of the way as early as you possibly could?
Yeah, so some of the guys like just pulling over as soon as the green light goes and just drink all their drinks. And I'm not that kind of guy. I like going and seeing how long I can go, but man, I couldn't even make it a lap before I spun. So I just decided to take 2 drinks there and get on my way, which was a little lonely, but super eventful race.
Yeah, it certainly was. Now, the car and track combo was probably one of the more, I guess, difficult ones, with it being the old 87 NASCARs around Sonoma. Did you find it was any trouble getting used to the car and track combo, or was it actually not too bad for you?
It was absolutely terrible, actually. Yeah, for me, I like driving race cars. I think we all do. And getting in this 87 around the road course is probably one of the most difficult things you can do. Usually what we'll do on the other races, we'll do like the trophy trucks, which is, going off track and having fun, and at least they'll turn. It takes a little bit to slow down, but at least they turn in. And this thing, after a couple laps, man, the tire fade is real, and the back starts to get really slidey, and I'm just happy. Somehow I made it up to second. I think maybe 40 minutes in, or like 5 minutes before the end, I was like, I'm in second place. And I was like, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah, certainly. It was a little bit like that. Well, nevertheless, thank you for coming in and thank you for turning up as well. It was really, really good to see you, and we hope to see you next time.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Well, the Havoc Gary Michael joining us in the box, and I believe you're standing by next with BJ Fulton.
Yeah, standing by with the driver of that 277 machine who qualified second, still finished on the podium, but not after an incredible race, a great drive. BJ, walk us through pretty much, everything throughout this entire event.
Yeah, it was a real fun race. We had some battles going there for a while. I had a good time, but it was really hard work keeping this car on the racetrack.
And these cars are definitely very much a handful to control, even on an oval. But with this, everyone was sliding, getting loose, overpowering the car's rear tires as well. And the curbs, I'm assuming, definitely didn't help too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got my PhD in astrophysics, but I think driving this car was even harder to wrestling this car around Sonoma. I think maybe as hard as getting a PhD in astrophysics.
I remember that for sure. After this, with the past events as well that have been going on throughout Ford Drink Friday, what did you make of this event?
It was fun. It was one of the more difficult ones, I must say. Sonoma is always a challenge, and in these race cars, it was even more so. But we had a bit of a small turnout today, so that gave us some room to race, one-on-one here and there, and it was a lot of fun.
Definitely was absolutely incredible. We thank you for your time, and we hope to talk to you again next race.
Thanks.
That is BJ Fulton finishing in the third place position. And thanks to the drivers and admins at Ford Drink Friday for having us cover tonight's incredible event. You can also see the companies that provide the software and hardware that allow us to do these broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to June Lalonde, who provides our incredible music. If you're interested in having her provide some of her great work to you, you can contact her at the link in the description below or the link on screen, and use your mobile device to get there even faster. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races that aren't currently going by on the screen, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media, varying from Twitter, which is at GSR Channel. Our Facebook is Global SimRacing Channel, and our Instagram is GSRC_Graham. Finally, if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. Link is in the description below to help you and those who are on mobile devices. Don't forget to hit that bright red subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Make sure to set your preference to all so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. If the button is already gray, we're glad you're enjoying our content, and we thank you for your continued support. As we wrap up from the virtual Sonoma Raceway, we'd like to congratulate Michael Johnson on an incredible race win. And behalf on the team today, Adam Lindgren, Cameron Dance, and of course director Joe Peak, and our camera provider Dougie Beard, I'm Gary Weaver, and we thank you for tuning in to tonight's incredible Ford Drink Friday event here at Sonoma. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.